The next part is let's look at a different workflow. Let's look at the subject tracks workflow and see what parameters are they available to you to define, right? So again, what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of going to create a copy. I'm just going to say edit. So say continue. It's fine. So this is what it would look like, right? Workflow name similarly, and you can give it a description, but it's not necessary. Data source, again, because there's only one. It will connect to the one, then starts the parameters that I can define myself. Data date range, the subject group. Now note that with the subject tracks workflow, you're only limited to selecting a single subject group at a time, not multiple, right? So what you could do is put in your subjects that you would want to specifically analyze from your Earth Ranger site into a single subject group that you can then analyze from your Ecoscope module, right? Then you get to the point where you define your groups, right? How do you want to group the data? Again, I chose time, but you'll see you have time in category, right? And then I'm going to say time, day of the month, and group by time again with the month, right? So now it's time. Both my groupers is time. First one is defined by the date of the month, and the second one is also time, but now grouped by the month itself, right? And then you have your advanced configurations where you have the trajectory segment filter. The nice thing again, it's those tooltips at the bottom, tells you exactly what it is that you are defining, right? So look at that. Look at the resources that I'm going to point you to. Define these in great detail and give you great examples in order for you to be able to navigate through all of this without scratching your head and wondering what is going on. And similarly as well to the events workflow, you have base map layers and the time density map, right? So it's the same attributes for two different workflows where you have your base maps where you can do the very same as we advised earlier, and you have your time density map where you can define your cell size and coordinate system. But notice that now we have two additional attributes here with speed factor and shape buffer expansion factor, right? Which have their own tooltips, which advise you what those are, right? And please do forgive me if I'm not going into explicit detail with each of these. As I said, this is more of a overview, a very generalistic intro overview. I'm also just trying to leave it to you to kind of have a more an interest in finding out how this could be telling within your operations or how you analyze data within Ecoscope. All right. So once I'm happy with that, I'd say submit. This one, I'll do this because, I basically said edit, although I didn't change anything. I'm just going to say submit. And we're going to give it a moment. There we go. You get a message at the top right telling you that the configuration has been submitted. And as you can see now, status is ready, which means that according to how I've set up the workflow, everything is correct and is as it should be. There's actually a result that can be derived from the parameters as I've defined them. And then once I'm happy with that, I'll say run. And I will see that last run time has been updated. And then I have a little message spinning wheel showing me that something is actually happening in the back end, right? Now, while that's happening, I know it won't take long. So now we can go and view the results of this workflow, right? So day of the month in August, obviously because of the date filter that we used, we started on the 11th. So we're looking at a month's worth of data as far as the patrols workflow is concerned. The subjects workflow is concerned. So for the 1st until the 10th, we'll find no data. So I'll just go to the 10th. You'll see the same will not happen. As soon as I jump to the 11th, then we'll have some data in there showing us that there has been data that was found and data that can be presented to us in our dashboard. So you'll see you're going to get a message saying that it's working on it, right? And right now, remember, the results are not important. It's just to kind of show you what is available. And once you've gotten your user account and you've read through the additional materials, please take a moment and just play around with the data on your side, connect your data source, analyze the data on your side. Now, back to the subject tracks workflow, you'll see that I am able to hover over the subject track directly from the map. And this is, again, an interactive map. If I hover over it, it gives me metadata related to that, where it started, right? So this would be the start time of the track, within the analysis, date range that we've chosen, duration, speed, If it was nighttime, obviously if it says false, it means this was during the day, right? Subject name and the subject 6, right? And there's another one there at the top, and it gives me kind of the same attribute related to this specific subject, right? So you can imagine if you have a lot more data, there's a lot more differentiation that you would be able to see, right? This would be a home range map. Again, just this is because we use a very minimal amount of data, right? So this would be a home range, and you have the time spent on a specific location, right? With a gradual decrease or increase of how much time was spent at a specific time, right? A specific place. And then you have day-night, right? The day-night ratio. Obviously, these were collected during the nighttime. It says false, subject name, far 2, and that's the 6, right? If I can just pull this to the right for us to see the details related to these. There we go. All right. So this is how the tracks workflow would look like, right? And then finally, you have the net square displacement. And again, if you want to understand a little bit more, please do read the additional materials, which I'll point you to now in a moment. I know I've been referencing them a lot. All right, here we go. So that's the subject tracks workflow. Let me just show you that you are able to change this. So if I go into the month of September and I start on, let's say the 11th is fine, or let's take the 7th. Okay, let's go back to the 11th and hear what happened. Take the 11th. Now I have the night day ratio, mean speed, max speed, number of location. You see now we have a lot more data-rich data being displayed on that dashboard. Let's just see how that looks from the dashboard perspective. So this is what the output would look like, right? So as you can see here, we have some form of differentiation where this first map relates to our subject group trajectory map, right? So this is the speed at which subjects are moving, right? So this is what you have here. And please, this is test data, so don't take it any other way, right? So you can see that as I move this along the track as well, the attributes or the metadata within the table also adjusts accordingly, because this is a track, right? So each individual point has its own unique metadata attached to it. Then I have my home range map, which at this specific moment there isn't anything selected for that. Then I have my similarly night and day map, and then now I have my net square displacement, which you can see looks a little bit more telling in comparison to the one you saw back in August.